Tabe has just released Arc 7 Chapter 21, and this will be a summary for that chapter. I highly recommend you check my summary for Arc 7 Chapter 20. By the way, this chapter has very little dialogue in it, and most of it is just general narration, so do keep that in mind. We learn more about this commander. This person is known as Dhikr Ottoman, an apparent womanizer. He is also the second general of Wallachia. Alongside these titles, he's also known as a lustful man and a seducer. In other words, a disgraceful title for someone of his stature. However, this man liked the title given to him because his previous nickname was much worse, and therefore his current nickname is better. We see that he's from a family that normally produces imperial soldiers. We also see this man was born into a family of 4 older and 6 younger sisters. He was the only male. However, living with so many women did not destroy the illusion of females for him, so he instead sought ideals and illusions from women outside of his family. Dhikr Ottoman became a soldier and then met his first females outside of his house. They existed between the ideal and reality, between love and hate. Due to this, he also served women, and he was served by women. This, combined with his safe battle tactics and accurate use of troops, earned him his nickname of Womanizer, which again is something he liked. This man, Dhikr Ottoman, rise to become the second general of the Wallachian Empire. From the start, Dikka knew that this expedition stunk. Only a few people were notified of the reason of the expedition: to make contact with the people of the Shudrakian tribe, the people in the Bodheim jungle. Dikka had never met them, but he knew they were a tribe of women and often selected men to have children with. He wanted to meet them. He also knew that they were strong. However, Dikka didn't believe that being strong or weak actually mattered, as every woman had their own flavour. If one woman can be so varied, how could you lump multiple women together? Before Dikka left, he was given a note: secret orders to the Shudrakian people. Swear servitude or be destroyed. Dikka, however, was against it, but orders were orders, and he had to comply. Dikka knew that there was something wrong at the imperial capital, and assumed it was related to this expedition. This expedition, of course, was hidden from the soldiers, which was evidence pointing towards that outcome. Dikka didn't know what the emperor was thinking. The 77th emperor, Vincent Wallachia, the emperor who let no one know what his inner thoughts were saying. Dikka, who was second in command, rarely saw Vincent's face, but heard the praise of his exploits despite being far away. Vincent crushed every problem, and Wallachia has been in peace in the 8 years of reign that Vincent has been presiding over. This is why Dikka was shocked at the emperor's orders to destroy the Shudrakian people if they don't comply. Vincent wasn't someone who wanted war, since it was trivial to him, so it made Dikka crease his brow. We see that when Dikka isn't with women, he spends his time with his soldiers, which is unusual since soldiers don't spend time with those of a higher rank, but Dikka liked spending his time with his men. We also see that Dikka was speaking to a soldier, someone who was joking about what would happen if the bar became a battlefield. Dikka may have spilled more information that he should have, which, if it was someone from a different country, Dikka might have gotten capital punishment for that offense. The soldier responds that he will be on the front lines, so the higher ups have their own agenda, so he isn't really part of it. The front lines is referring to the camp next to the Bodheim jungle. Sometime later, Dikka was stunned, hearing that this camp was burned to the ground by the Shudrak people. He wanted to be peaceful and accommodate the people of the Shudrak without fighting. However, Dikka heard that the Shudrak people were relentless, shooting arrows into those who were fleeing. There were over 100 casualties. The Shudrak people have become the enemy of the Emperor, and Dikka decided to wait for reinforcements from the capital to launch an attack on the jungle. For them to win, they needed a good advantage, therefore they needed the best soldiers to win any fight, so calling for reinforcements is the best option. Dikka also states verbally that the Shudrak people have attacked the Emperor and therefore they will be crushed. Even if they were women, this is how Dikka restrains himself with this line of thinking. Dikka took defensive precautions, such as setting up the city in a way that the main gate can be closed. The Shudrak also fight with bows, so they couldn't get past the stone wall surrounding the city of Guaral. Furthermore, they were a small group, so they wouldn't have a number advantage. With this in mind, the only way the Shudrak would win is by attacking during the dark. However, this can only be done on opponents who don't expect the attack to come. Dikka also ordered for any loopholes into the city to be filled. Dikka gets a report that some soldiers have taken the steps of precaution to fill up the loopholes before he even gave the order, which was something that pleased Dikka. The scene changes. Dikka was confused. There was a group of entertainers which was spreading around the city over the past few days, according to reports. This report wasn't really relevant to any wartime actions, however Dikka knew that he would have to keep a compromise between tightening his grip on the people of the city. He had to make sure they had outlets for their emotions. Providing the soldiers looked out for the Shudrak people, it was all good due to this. Entry into the city and out of the city via checkpoints was the norm, so a group of travelers entering the city wouldn't be unusual. Dikka was uncertain about why the soldier brought it up, but stated that he wouldn't crack down on it as the civilians and soldiers needed amenities where they could release their emotions. We also see that the survivors from the camp have been increasingly fighting with the civilians and the tension is escalating, so things like a travelling dance troupe can bring down the tension. Dikka again raised his opinion that the troupe is fine, or else the civilians will explode emotionally. The soldier then raised his concern by stammering, and Dikka asked him what the issue was. The soldier stated through his stammer that Dikka should check out the troupe, as they're good at what they do. This made Dikka roll his eyes, but he wasn't against it if there was good women in the dance troupe. We also see that the soldiers are becoming increasingly frustrated. In other words, Dikka and the soldiers should spend time watching the dancing troupe to quell their emotions and relax. Dikka agreed to meet with the dancing troupe and to make sure that, of course, they don't have any weapons on them. The scene changes to a large banquet hall. The troupe are moving around and Dikka spots a beautiful woman with white skin and long black hair. This dancer has long eyelashes and thin slit-like eyes. This woman kick-started Dikka's instincts, Dikka's lust. As the music started, the men drank and watched eagerly. The long black-haired princess danced and captivated the imperial soldiers with her dance. The one thing that Dikka was attracted to though was the eyes of this dancer. He was then asked for a sword. This is natural as the dance can then transition into what's known as a sword dance. No one of course could refuse this. As the sword was handed to this princess, it was then placed against Dikka's throat. "You lose," the voice said. This is what happens when you're a womanizer. But despite that, he still couldn't take his eyes off the woman, someone he's sure he recognizes from somewhere. However, his deja vu has lost the battle. And the chapter ends. Wow, that chapter was really weird because it was a named chapter for a character we don't actually know. So, I'm not sure if Dikka's name is supposed to be a pun on Dick, because he likes women and he keeps giving women the Dikka, but that's really interesting. As for the ending, there's, from my understanding, 3 dancers. I think there's 2 black hair dancers and 1 blonde hair dancer, but the princess who is dancing and gets the sword and puts it to Dikka's throat is most likely 99% Vincent. yes, the Emperor Vincent is cross-dressing. As for the other two dancers, I believe it's most likely Subaru and Flop, or Medium. I'm not sure, it's really hard to tell, but I can 99% with certainty say that the black-haired princess that is dancing is actually Vincent Falakia. But yeah, honestly, I don't know what to think about that chapter. It was so weird. It was super short and it was so weird. But hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.